Hey everyone, welcome to part 2 for the Unreal Engine tutorial. So I'm going to try something a little bit new as well. I'm going to try to do a second screen in my tutorials, and the way I'm going to do that is I'm just going to keep activating constantly on and off. So the way I'm going to do it is when I need my second monitor, or my third or my fourth, I will just turn this on and it will show my monitor right here, and I can actually just move it around depending on where it's at, or make it bigger if it's more important, or vice versa. So I think this is a really useful technique in OBS, so I'm going to be using that. And apologize if you hear stuff in the background. I'm currently in studio right now. As you can tell by the date on the bottom that I'm making this, March 17th, there is the coronavirus going around, so there's going to be some issues. I've had some issues with studio, and classes being moved to online. So I do have a little bit of free time though because of that. So you take the good with the bad. So let's get on to it. So I left off with importing, and I'm going to kind of overlap the tutorial a little bit. Instead of go straight from the import to actually texturing, I'm going to go from that to other things. So I'm going to import again just to show you guys how I do it, just to be a little clear. So I'm going to launch 4.23. I do have 4.24, but apparently I need to update. I'll do it later. I'll probably use 4.24 for my next projects, but for right now I'm going to stick with 4.22 or 4.23. Sorry. So you go to new project, excuse me, and you would go to third person. Where is that at? Third person here, and let's just name this one facade underscore test, and then we'll put this in the D drive. Yep. Good. And create project. So you see the name pop up and it's going to initialize. If you're going to plan to use Unreal Engine for animation and walkthroughs and things like that, you probably need a pretty good computer. I would say so. This computer I have right now is pretty decent. Actually, it's really good. I custom built it to have the specs I need: 48 gigs of RAM, Quadro graphics card, and that's pretty much all. And then pretty good motherboard too as well. I'm not a super computer guy, but definitely got the good specs for gaming and rendering real time as well. Although I don't like to render real time, it just doesn't help me out. But anyways, let's get on to it. So we're left with all this stuff. This stuff's annoying. I like to keep it. I don't like to keep it. So usually what I do is I just delete it all. Oh, what happened there? Okay, I'll delete the environment. Let's not delete that. The environment's actually fine. Then let's see, geometry. It's just, some of this can go, like, we don't need all this. We don't need all this, yada yada. Come on, go. Alright. So, right now we're left with this camera. And this start button. Oh, this start key right here. So we need that. So what we're going to do now is import. So what we're going to use Datasmith. And we're actually going to just click on Datasmith, go to all files. Make sure it does 3DMs. It should do them. They may have done a different update. Datasmith, Cinema 4D, yeah. Okay, so we'll just go here. We'll find our file. So my file is here, my Google Drive. I'm going to paste it. And there's another one right here. So we'll click on that. Import in the material, or import in our geometry. And we'll put that under, the geometry folder. So I don't have any materials or lightings or cameras or animations done, so that should be good. So this is kind of quality in a sense, chord tolerance. So maximum distance between any generated things. I'm just going to keep it at 0.2. I don't need it pretty precise right now. So yeah, we're left with this imported object. And to go over the controls a little bit, sorry, I'm moving around. If you hit left click, just rotates. This is weird, like pan motion. I don't really like it. The way you should move, you may need to change it in here. You would right click and then play like a game. So WASD is usually like the controls for a game, and you would literally just move around like that. Like W is forward, S is back, D, A, and then you would just move it around to kind of give you the angle you need. And this is how you would literally control things. If you don't like the grid either, you can change that by hitting G. So I don't like the grid, so I always turn it off. So yeah, this is how you would control it. As you can see, I'm kind of moving around pretty smoothly. Okay, so dismiss, and here's all of our layers that have been brought in. Sorry about that, it's my locker. Give me 1 second. Maybe there's a way to like prop this up because it's a little low, and I have to like hunch my neck over weirdly. Let's see. Let's see if this works. Give me 1 second, guys. I apologize. Yeah, this isn't working. This is a failure. Okay. I'm trying to like stack random amounts of stuff I find on my desk. So let's see. I am thinking of how do I want to start? So I'm going to start off, I guess, making a material. So I'm going to make a new folder. So you right click, make a new folder here. Name it materials. And all my materials are going to go here. So it's very simple. So I guess what I want to start off with is how materials work in general. I want to start off by actually having a material. So I'm going to use my test materials here. Architectural templates. I'll pull that up later. Let me do it off screen real quick. UE4 materials. I could use that. No. So I'm going to start off with a material I've made. So let's see. 3ds Max. Concrete's like the easiest example always. I love concrete because it's so easy to explain, and it's the easiest texture to make. Concrete's super easy. Generic concrete. Yep. Okay, so we're going to stick with this generic concrete material that I've created. So it should be seamless too. I hope so. I usually make seamless only, so if not, I failed. And so let's get started. So I have an example as well of I have an example of how I made one. Bear in mind, I'm not the best at this type of thing as well. So there are other people that do this professionally and are very good at explaining this in very simplistic manners. I am just an architecture student in the University of Michigan, so I don't work professionally on this. So any professionals that do watch this are probably going to cringe at how I do this, but this is the process that I found that works as an architecture student, not as a professional. So let's do this. So I'm going to click material. So how materials usually work is you're going to have a base material, so your master material. So I'm going to say concrete. And then you're going to have material instances that you can change off of. So everything, how it works is you base it off of one material, and then you make branches of different materials. It's like scripting in a sense. Actually, this is scripting, but material scripting, which is kind of cool. So how I brought that up was I double clicked, and I want to show both screens. So in this case, I'll show that. Oh, that's cool. That worked out really well. I'm liking this so far. It's helping me out. Let me know what you guys think about this second screen thing. I can always turn it off and toggle it, which is super cool. Anyways, actually I may keep it that small. So to pan through how I'm doing right now, like move around, is just right click. So we want to start off with our materials. So I'm going to throw in all these materials that I have right here. So if I just do that, or oopsie. Sorry, can't throw it in there. I'm used to using Max. So what you would do is if you go into here, let me turn off my side monitor real quick. You take all these and you can actually just throw them in here and import them. It actually comes up with a side menu that says importing right here. And that's if you have multiple monitors, which I would for especially Unreal Engine. It'd be really annoying not to, in my opinion. There's got to be something that can help me prop this up because this is hurting. Give me 1 second. think I found something. I found like a giant piece of wood one of my classmates was working on. Well, not working on, it's like a mold he doesn't need anymore, so we're good. So, oh yeah, it's a little better. At least I don't have to, hunch over to reach the mic. So, what I'm thinking here is I'm going to, let me turn on the second monitor. So all I have to do now is I should be able to just throw these in here. Yep. Throw in these materials. Okay. And if you don't know which ones are which happens, it should tell you right here. It'll say color. If you just hover over it, you click on it, hover over, it'll say dusty floor granite displacement. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to widen this screen a little bit. There we go. So you guys can see it, and so I can see it as well. I am going to start texturing it. So the way to do it is, you would think, if you ever have any rendering experience at all, you would think just plug it into its respective parts, which is true. So let's just do that real quick as a understanding. So this is the color. Oh, this is color. Wrong one. See, you gotta check. I'm not God. I don't know everything. Specular map. Don't know if I need to use that. You just import everything and then use it later. Displacement. That's usually under normal. I don't think I'd be using that either. So all these I won't use. Displacement right here. Normal map. And it does show a preview right here. As you can see, it's not really affecting it too much. And then this is ambient. Let's say occlusion, yeah. So you'd plug the occlusion into here. They actually render in the occlusion into here, which is pretty cool. You can actually rig this to be more custom too. So I'm going to delete those just to keep the clutter away. So now you have this. You're thinking, I need this to be more of a UV. Let's see if I can actually make this a little. Apologies, I just want to make it a little bit more visible, or at least proportional, because this screen monitor I have is not a 1080p monitor, so it's not going to just overlap straight up. But what I'm thinking of is we want to make it to where we have a UV map, so we can control the UVW mapping on this. Like as a custom, because right now it's a 1-to-1, and if I throw it on there, it won't really work very well. So the way to do that is you're going to start with something called an append. So you need 2 of these. So the way I did it was I right-clicked, kind of like in Grasshopper. I think it's right-click in Grasshopper. I can't remember right now. Is it? Actually, we can just check. I have a file open. No, it's double-click. Okay. That's actually for another video as well. I got a lot of videos planned. It's hard for me to do them with the time I have. But right-click, append, vector, and you can actually name these. So you have append, and then you can have scalar parameters. So what these do, this is a scalar parameter. So basically this is like a number slider in Grasshopper. So you have these 2. We don't need 2 appends actually. And you would just do let's tell it to be if you want it to be just to control the UV values separately, you would just do I would like to name it. So I would just name this U and name this one V. Like pretty simple stuff. Okay. And we're just going to plug these 2 into here. It just adds the values together. And then we're going to do a multiply. And what we need to multiply it to is a text coordinate. Something that tells it what kind of coordinate to be on, or what kind of UV value to be on. So you can do texture C, and that'll give you a text coordinate. And if you double click this, it's already a UV tiling of 1-to-1. So what this does is just multiplies the numbers together. this makes you able to control each one by adding it and then append and then you multiply it. And what you can do now is just plug in all these values. Now right now they're 1-to-1, all of them. And I'm going to keep everything at a base value. So as you can see, well, let it load. As you can see from here, concrete doesn't look like concrete right now. Give me one sec. Okay, I just scratched my ear. Which is fine. That's just how it is. And because right now the values are 0. So you can set a default value. So I'm going to have my default value at 1 here. And I think everything's 1. Did you change that too? Okay, so default value is 1 for both. And there you go. But now we're like controlling this. So this is one part of the script. And now I'm thinking, okay, that's cool. But why do I want different color concrete? I know that seems weird. And normally what you would do is you would just Photoshop it, right? You would just Photoshop it as a hue saturation and change the coloration. But you could do that directly in Unreal Engine. So the way to do that actually is a blend overlay. It's like almost it's basically like Photoshop. You would blend this into here, and then you would create a, I think it's called a vector parameter, I like to call it. And then you would just, right now, the vector is black, and then you just plug this directly into here, and plug this into here. Yep. So right now it looks black, and you're like, that's not what I wanted, bro. So, but trust me. So this is good. You keep it black, and then it's fine. Same thing for, so in the multiplier value, or the normal value. Let's say I want a higher normal value. What you can do is you can do the same thing with a blend overlay. This blend overlay is super useful. Plug in the base, which would be in here, and then you add a multiplier. So you can do a scalar actually, scalar value. So you can call this, I like to call it normal underscore mult. I just spelled that atrociously. Let me fix that real quick. Sorry, my keyboard is like with this piece of wood. It's a little annoying to get to, but I may create like a mic setup later, but that's another thing. So if I plug this in now, I should have no normal. Should be like almost smooth in a sense. Yep, it should be super smooth. So I'm going to have a default value of 1. And if you look at that, yeah, so now we have our value here. You can always have a default value of whatever you want, and then the best part is you can change it. So, and then same thing for this. We can also have one for the occlusion value. So let's do that. A scalar parameter, and then we would do a AO mult. That's what I'm going to name it. Ambient occlusion, and then you plug this into here and just intersect that instead. And now we just save that. And now you're like, okay, now we have black concrete. That's not what I want. And that's fine. So I'm going to keep this up. I'm actually going to shrink this window down. And I'm actually going to show both ends a little bit more. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to apply this one with concrete. So right now if I just drag it, it's going to look like a weird mess of crap. I could have technically like a world position offset, allow for vertices of mesh to be manipulated in a world space by material, aka the displacement. I don't want to do displacement because it lags the crap out of your computer. So let's not do that. And right now that looks fine. So it's black, and you're like, okay, I have like really, really weird asphalt. So that's not what you want. So what you're going to do is you're going to right click this, and you're going to create something called a material instance. Now the powerful part about this is you only need to make the material once, and you can make, let's say there's different concrete throughout the building. I mean, so you only need to make the material once, and then just make these instances and just change parameters, and then that's it. That's what's beautiful about Unreal Engine. That's what I love about texturing on Unreal Engine. It's super easy. And apparently I haven't saved this, so let's save this now. Okay. So now you create this material instance, but it's still black. So what you're going to do now is change this to be the color you want it to be. So I'm going to double click this. And the way to do this is you have all these parameters now, as you can see. If you look, maybe if I can zoom in. So you see that you have all these parameters now. Sorry, my mouse is on the other side, and OBS is like on the other side of the planet right now on my screen. Apologize for the music. There's students just doing a kumbaya because coronavirus, apparently. So you have this, and you see this on this side here, there's panels. It says param. Check everything here first. And let's change this to be gray. You can see I can change the color now. Almost the brightness in a sense. And change the coloration of what I want my concrete to be. So once if I want an orange tint, or maybe just keep it white like that. So we'll just do that. And now we're like, okay, cool. We can play around with certain values, which is pretty cool. Concrete looks pretty good, but let's say I was like, I want this to be a little rougher. And that's where the normal multiplier comes in. You can actually start to see the change. You can also go negative for an inverse. That's the beauty of this program. It looks so nice. So you can actually even do it real time in a sense. Not in a sense, yet you can do it real time. So if I shrink this down, and I'm going to just throw this material on here. You can actually just change it real time. Isn't that cool? I don't know, I think that's cool. And then one thing I like is that you can change the tiling, so it's a little big. So I'm going to change it here, and then change it here. So it's just a little smaller looking. So as you can see, it looks pretty good. And I really like that. And it looks good. It's good concrete. Obviously, I do a lot more work to it, but this is just the basic kind of concrete texture that I have. And the AO multiplier, let me try that. I actually have not used this, so what does this do? Probably nothing. I probably need to do other things to it in order for it to work, but it probably doesn't do much. Probably need to do a coloration to it. Yeah, so that one doesn't do anything, because, yeah. It's like that one just doesn't do anything. So, let's see, maybe I can make it do something. So, because this is based off of coloration, so I can do the same thing with the param viewer. So I can just plug this into here. Okay. Let's see if I can just open this back up. It should show me. Oh wow. For some reason it's not showing me the oh, maybe I have to save this. Or maybe I have to swap it real quick. Let me just swap this. Okay. Okay. Save that. Sorry, I'm just experimenting around because maybe this could work. I guess this one hasn't changed, so maybe I have to delete this instance. And that's fine, because like, I'll just delete it. It's just getting rid of this asset right here. Not the asset, it's getting rid of the connection between that material. I don't know why my computer's being glitchy. Usually when I delete like this, it sometimes likes to glitch out a little bit. Yeah, but okay, cool, it worked. Yeah, so usually the way to avoid that is I like to just add a new material and just chuck on a default material on there. So let's see what this does. Create material instance. And then open this up. I don't know why it's not giving me another scalar multiplier. should give me another one. Maybe because it's not named. So maybe I have to name this one. Okay, so I want to name this one color. And I want to name this one AO. AO. Okay. Okay, so let's see what that does. Yep, there we go. I just had to name it. So let's check everything. So usually what people do is they work hours on like an actual like material, and then they just go through these parameters that are very simple. Oopsie. So it does it by alphabetical, but I'm pretty sure I can just for this concrete, I'm just gonna make it this color. For this AO, I'm just going to I'm not too sure. I thought that would work, but I guess it didn't. Maybe I'm just dumb. Usually the ambient occlusion you can change by like exposure value, but maybe I'm wrong and it's just a set value. Let me know if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure you can change the ambient occlusion via texture. You can also probably change it through settings, but the ambient occlusion could be changed through like a textural aspect. Anyways, so I'm going to change the multiplier to be here. I'm going to throw this on actually too. And you can also do like a little bit of like saturate. You can be like a little brighter. And then move this here. And then UV value I can change a little bit. And then yeah, that's pretty much it for the textures of this. Yeah, so that's how you do textures pretty much in Unreal Engine, and then you just save it and then close it out. And now you have your texture in here, of course, as you can see. So yeah, so that's pretty much how you would do textures. One thing I want to tell you though, if you're doing multiple textures on like multiple objects, you can't just do like a texture for an entire group of objects. It's really weird. So for example, I have this wood panel. I called it wood panel. I'm just gonna use concrete for example here as well. And this is where I can show you how instances come in handy. So I'm like, okay, wood panel. I want to make this all concrete. But the problem is I can't like click all the objects and like add it to it. It only does one, as you can see. And that's not what I want. So what you're gonna have to do, and it's really annoying, but this is the way to do it. You highlight all this, go to Window, Developer Tools, and Merge Actors. So you see all your objects being merged. Click Merge, save it under Geometry. You can see it's merging. And yep, and then we're good. And now what you want to do is hide all this, because you may need to remerge later if something goes wrong with the other file. So now you're like, okay, I just throw it on here, right? Which you do. But the problem with that is it's off-centered, and you're like, I can never get that exactly back. Well, if you go to details here, you see location here is completely wonky. If I just do 0, 0, 0, it treats this as the origin. So all you have to do is make sure the location, how you import it in Rhino, is very important, or how you model it from Rhino, because this is the 0, 0 point, the C plane in Rhino, and then it bases everything on how you model the geometry off of. So, with that being said, you're like, okay, now when you click it, it's one whole object. So for example, if I go back to my content folder, geometry, materials, if I throw this on here, it'll do the entire thing. Now, this one looks weird, so what I'm going to do is make a different material instance. So I'll create material instance 2. You throw this in here, and you have your materials right here. So what you're going to do now is open this up. So I'm going to have this material right here, or this window, sorry, open. And we can double click this, open that up, visualize this, and we can check all these. I mean, this doesn't do anything, so we're not going to mess with that. We should just check it off anyways. Make it white. Color. This is the brightest concrete. And now you see you have your concrete here basically done. So what you need to do now is change the normal. And then you can change now the UV values here. Let's see, I'm just making sure it looks. This also could be my UVW texturing in Rhino as well. That's causing that little blip. As you can see, it looks a little funky right here. I just have to So that's why you want to be able to re-import constantly and not move your model, because you're going to be needing to sometimes do another UVW map onto this. So sometimes it gets a little weird. So we're going to do 1. We're going to start back over. Let's see. Okay, so that looks proportional. Let's see. Let's see. Yeah, that looks a lot better. Like that. And then like that. I mean, these things are supposed to be microscopic in a sense. Let's say that's fine. Okay, so let's say we like that, which I don't really like that. But what I'm trying to say is, so we like that panel and the look of that. So we have our concrete here, like that. And let's say let's change this down to be a darker concrete. But that's the power material instance is what I'm trying to show you. The object itself may not be completely textured correctly. Let me see if I can maybe fix that. Yeah, the object itself may not be textured correctly or unwrapped correctly, excuse me. But there's a way to, and I haven't done that. I just kind of imported it hoping it'll be okay because it's just a box. But as you can see, boxes aren't exactly its favorite, ironically. But what I'm trying to say is you can have different forms of concrete for different ones, but it's the same material. But you have different instances that change different parameters. So for example, this concrete is different from this concrete, but they come from the same material. It's kind of crazy actually how that works. So this is basically texturing in a nutshell. One more thing I want to go over before I leave you guys off, but this is basically how you texture, and this is how I textured my entire project. I did my entire final animation and my entire final renderings also in Unreal Engine. Those really helped out. I do have those. I haven't released them because I just have them for YouTube sake, for portfolio and all that. But so yeah, that's how you would texture pretty much. The next tutorial I'm going to go over collisions, aka how you can basically interact with this model in a third-person point of view. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Let me just save this. So if you have a huge model, of course, it's going to take some time to import in, but if it's too big, you need to separate out into different parts. I think in my first tutorial, I labeled that out. So one more thing I want to label out is if you have Unreal Engine, you have to have Epic Game Launcher. No, good for them. You can actually go into the marketplace and get some really good materials for free. I'm not expecting anyone to pay money, but if you want to pay money, you can. I'm not the type of guy to pay money for anything, to be quite honest. I'm pretty poor. Doesn't mean I just rob people. But you can actually get these materials if you go down here or go. Let me turn the screen off real quick. You can actually grab some of these materials, either materials or props or whatnot for free. You just go into the free. Go into Megascans first because they actually I think got bought out by Megascans or Unreal Engine or Epic Games bought Megascans and Epic Game contents and all that stuff. Sorry, I was just running out of breath, just talking a lot. So you can actually like take some of this stuff and use it in your projects as well. So for example, some of these like textures they use in this shoal cave, or for example, if I look at my, well, first let me just buy this, buy quote unquote. If I go to my library, I have all these things that I bought. Industrial props, industry props, wooding, wood floors, glass, advanced village pack. Yeah, there's a lot of concrete, asphalt, city. These Megascan stuffs are amazing. So there's a lot of good content out there, and there's also some good content online as well. There should be. So let me see, Unreal. I got some as well. Unreal Engine textures download. There's one that's really cool. But there are some good textures out there. If you just look around, free PBR. That one's a good one. I think I use this one as well. Yeah, I used free PBR. You literally just look at their entire website. They have a bunch of different textures. Oh, these are tutorials. But yeah, they have like a decent amount. You don't need a ton to make like a real architectural model in a sense. But they have a decent amount here. Yeah, if you just Google, look around. This is also another one. I'm not going to download it, but there's also another one. If I look here, you can actually add a vegetation into the model. I forget how I did it. It's been a while. I gotta remember some of these stuff. Architectural templates. It should be under Unreal. Vegetation pack. Yeah, there's this vegetation pack you can grab from, and they have their own materials and configurations, and you can actually transfer parts of your material and import it into your project as well. So you can actually bring your own foliage into it. That's what they call it here, and you can actually just brush it on, which I think is really cool. This one should be Googleable as well. Should be just a free vegetation pack. UE4. A free starter kit. Yep, this one right here. And then you just download it. It's literally like this. It looks fucking amazing. Yeah, this is what I used. This is what I used as well in my texture maps. Not the music, if you heard any of that, but the grass itself. It kind of moves. So yeah, so in my project I also use this same grass and all that shit too as well, and it works out pretty good. So yeah, that's just one way of using Unreal Engine, is finding other people that use their textures. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this tutorial. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys have a great day, and I hope Bill's insightful. And next we'll go over collisions. Don't know when that'll be, because school is being a little crazy right now, but I promise I will get around to doing it. Thank you very much, and have a good night.